have a forum. So like we have the knowledge base where you have that section where you have all the articles, there will be a section in Edge that will have a forum where then you can interact with other users and discuss multiple
Do you have a time
things.
frame as to when that might happen? Or?
We are expecting to have by the end of the year. We have already been working on that, but yeah, it's what we are working at the moment.
Thank you.
Trish.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, it's basically, I think Vishu already knows about this, but it's basically to ask for Edge to change the rights so that only admin can assign users, users' rights. Because at the moment, I think the users are able to assign themselves to studies. So we just wanted we just wanted just the admins to be able to assign users to studies and give them manage or clinical access.
Okay, I think if you have managed permissions, you could add other users, but if you don't have managed permissions for the project or project site, you shouldn't be able to do it. But I will look into it, to some testing to see if something is not working right then.
Yes, this is it, because they will have managed access, but because they are users, we just want the
Okay, so
the TLAs, yes.
No, that's how the system was. So in Edge we have two types of. So you have the user access, which can be either admin or user, and you have admin access, and you have access to the whole system, and you can configure your organization. And then within the projects, you have another set of permissions. And if you have managed permissions, you are able to manage that project or project site record. So even if you're a user, if you have managed permissions, you will always be able to add other stuff to that record and perform any changes to the record itself. So that's just how the system works in terms of permissions.
Is this something that was changed with Edge 3? Because
No,
I don't think
no.
Okay.
That's the same as H2. So basically, if you have managed permissions, it doesn't matter if you have admin or user right, you can manage that project. So you can,
they can assign
perform
users.
any activity within that record.
Okay.
Okay.
Victoria Douglas.
Hi, yeah, just following on from that, I was just I think one of the things the thing that we'd mentioned last time was that there's only admin or user rights, and without giving everybody admin rights, the problem we've got is that users can't do some of the things we need them to do.
Yes, it is something we have discussed within the Edge team, having more access levels. So having like a reporter level and some other things, but that does imply quite a big change in the system. It is something we need to kind of be careful as well, because that can create quite a lot of issues.
Yeah,
but it is something we have on our kind of
it is on the radar
discussions. Yes,
yeah.
Because other people, we have had multiple users kind of saying that it would be useful to have a bit more of access levels into the system.
Yeah, definitely, as we're using it a lot more now for things like finance and stuff, what we're finding is that we can give everybody access to users access to the studies so that they can add the patients and what have you, but they then can't do the extra bits that we need them to do, which is with the finances and other things. So we're finding that the more we're using it, the more people we're having to make admin.
Yeah, so I think with the finance as well, one of the other things we are looking is also when we're doing the access levels, we also going to look into the permissions, and we may need to do a specific finance permission for users, like what we have for clinical, but for finance. So only those people will be able to see the finance information. I think that will be could be good, beneficial. So yeah, that is something that is on our let's say to-do list.
Okay, thanks. Doreen?
Hello. I wanted to find out, so when the notification for training comes through, I realized only the user gets that notification. It doesn't go through to the admin. I've reported this once, but it doesn't look like it's been resolved.
We did have a few issues with training reminders. The developers have been working on that. I think they have launched kind of a correction patch to do that. In terms of those reminders, you have to set them up on your management area, and you can set up reminders for users or for admins and both of them. So also you may need to look into the course and see if on the management area you have both of them. So you have reminders for the users and also for the admins. With that, because that may be why you're not receiving those notifications. I'm not sure. Without seeing the example, I cannot kind of confirm or deny
Okay,
in this case, but
can I have your email address? I can talk to you directly regarding this.
if you send an email to our Edge support, I will pick that case and reply to you. Is that okay? It's edge@sawton.ac.uk. I will pick that case and talk to you directly.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Muted. Yeah, one question. When we're adding a team, because we've got quite a small team at our trust, and so I like to just add them as one to every project, so everyone can access what they need to. On the old Edge thing, when you added a team, you could just tick key staff for all members of staff, so be able to access everything. But it doesn't seem to be available as a tick box. I now have to go in to make them individually key staff. Once I've added them all to the project, is that able to be changed?
That's the first time I'm hearing about that, John. So what I can say is I will look into it, do some testing to see if that's and to see if there's something wrong, and if we can make that change.
Yeah,
as well.
In the old one, it would come up with the full list, and then at the top it would say overwrite, make manager, make key staff, and all three columns.
You're missing that key staff kind of tick box there.
That tick box isn't there, so you're having to go in so that people can add patients and stuff. You're having to go in and do it manually afterwards.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I'll have a look.
All right. Thank you. Brilliant.
Okay, Nick.
Oh no, hang on.
Oh yeah, hi. Sorry, thanks. This is just following on from John's point, actually. Access, we offer, we give a lot of people access to all our studies within particular themes, and there used to be the select all for management levels. So if we added, you could amend the whole study list and give access to all, or manage access to all, view access to all, clinical access to all. So yeah, it was just following on that, the experience. And if you had someone as a team, so if we've got 6 or 7 teams within the trust, and when you're merging project rights, it used to basically go drop down, I want to merge with this team, and it would show you the team that person has been assigned to, and then it will give you a list of those members. Where it's more complicated. It's just there's a couple of extra steps that you have to do.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about is around that kind of user, under users, you have the projects and you could kind of change the permissions there. That area, and I have talked with other people about this, is that area is getting quite big. And it's just the tendency is to just get bigger, because if you have more people using Edge, you have more projects. And that functionality it was already quite slow on Edge 2, and in Edge 3 is kind of picking that up. So it is another of those where we are looking into what we can do to improve. We may need to look at that in a different way, and maybe not exactly how we used to do it on Edge 2, but kind of create some new functionality that will kind of account for you guys to be able to do that. So this is something that is also on our to-do list, to kind of look into how we can make that more efficient. The problem we have, and this also goes into some of that kind of staff involvement report, is they just get bigger and bigger, and there will be a time where it's kind of limited space, so we won't be able to run because it's just going to take too long to run that kind of query or to load that page on that user profile. So it's kind of we need to kind of review that and try to come up with a better way of doing those functions in the system. But that are a bit complex, not gonna lie, Nick. That is not the most straightforward thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think more trusts give more granular access than we do, which is totally fine. Obviously, I know which way you run, and so I think we're in the minority of trusts actually, but I think there are a couple of us that give similar access. But thank you.
Yeah.
Matthew.
Hi, yeah. I was just wondering about the issues with the reports. So we're having an issue with the appointments report at the minute, like nothing runs at all.
Yeah. The appointment report. So I don't know if did I pick that case for you, Matthew? Because I do have.
Yeah, I think I gave you. Yeah, I think I gave you like 3 different
that's fine.
issues.
That one is the developers are working on that as well. It's just a case of like the other parts, the appointments. Now you guys are using more the appointments, so that is kind of stressing the kind of reporting structure that we had for that report. So we need to kind of slightly change some things on the infrastructure to kind of account for that. It is something we are working on that at the moment. I have put that on the sprint for the developers to do. But you know, over this past month, there's lots of leave, so we have less capacity to kind of do certain things. But it is something we are aware and we are working on that.
Annoyingly, it seems to run the report. There's just once you can't download it, so once you run a report,
we did have a few of those. Sometimes it takes too long when you click on the download. It takes more than the time that is supposed to take, and then it just times out. So you might get a report where you have a message saying nothing there, or some kind of, I don't remember which is the error message, but it is something we are looking at.
But there's not like a workaround in the meantime that we could try.
Not that I'm aware of. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Angeliki.
Yes, hello. Hi. I just wanted to ask something, an issue that I've come across with Edge 3. It appears we're no more able to add subfolders at green level in some studies. So as I go into the study, and for example, we've got protocol folder or amendments folder. This is and I have already added some folders before moving to Edge 3. And now I do not have the button. I cannot see the button that says add a new folder. So I'm not sure if this is an issue of ownership or if you're already working on this. It's not all the studies. It's some studies that I cannot add anything. I cannot upload anything. And there are others that everything is working normally.
That may be might be to do with folder permissions. So in H3, you can kind of limit who views the folder and who can do things on the folder. So you can say it's only a certain team or a certain set of teams can do changes on that folder. It might be that.
But when my
without
access
looking,
is the same, when I used to upload, I used to create, for example, amendments folders and uploading the documents, and now I cannot do it in studies that they're not open now. They were opened 2 years ago, and I can't do it anymore. And it doesn't happen with all the studies. Then it's not a matter of access because I'm admin and I
These
still
studies
have the
have
same.
collaborations set up.
I'm
Do
sorry,
you have
what?
collaboration set? Do you have collaboration set up with other organisations for these projects? So are the folders you try and add subfolders into technically owned by another organisation?
I've got under organizations. I'm always, usually I'm talking about studies that I'm not the, we're not the owners.
Yes.
We're hosted. We're hosting the study, so we're hosted site, but it's the same access. When you're requesting for access, the whole process is the same. So I'm just wondering. Maybe it's a project by project basis where we should look at this, but then I can see that this keeps happening. So this is a recurring issue now. So I have found 7 or 8 studies that I cannot upload and I cannot add subfolders in at the green level.
I think in this case, again, if you can send us an email to our support inbox,
I will
with
resend it
specifics
because I think that
of-
my manager my manager has already sent an email to yours.
Has she?
And yes.
Okay.
I'll
if you can,
yeah,
maybe just
I'll resend it and maybe
if you can
up,
resend that and we can have a look, because in certain things like this, it's quite difficult to without seeing what's happening and seeing the settings and everything, try to understand why, because it could be a reason of there's some permissions that have changed or things like that on the folder, and that's why you cannot do that anymore. So we do need to kind of go and look a bit closer into those examples to be able to understand what's happening.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And I will pass to Lucy. I think I have taken probably almost half of your time. I'll pass to Lucy for her to discuss about archiving.
That's fine. I think this is a good forum for people to ask questions directly to the source. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so when it comes to archiving, we use an offsite storage facility, which I'm sure most of you do, but we track the process of archiving locally using Edge forms, and we start that process. We have an end of study report that we run via Edge, which we then use as an end of study sign off for the PIs, which we use through a REDCap survey, and then we amalgamate the two as a PDF at the end, and that's our record that the PI has acknowledged that the study is closed and it be archived, and that they have a responsibility for the archiving. So that's really for our records, because we know that most studies also have a study closure checklist and sign off of their own, but we do that process. When it comes to using Edge, we use quite a long form because it covers lots of different teams here. So we have 5 different research delivery teams here. Some of them deal with cancer studies, so there are chemo notes and things to be logged. And we use it like a checklist on the site level on Edge. So if it's okay with you, I'll share my screen and show you our form that we use. Okay, can everyone see my ECUF test study? Yeah. So this is our records retention and archiving. What used to be an attribute is now a form. So it's quite long and wordy, but basically when we set up a study, when we do our setup on Edge, we go on and we add this form and we put in the records retention period. Then when we got the date study closed, we check that off and put a date in. I wonder if I can, oh, that's better. I can show you what the fields are. So date study closed, just a date field, along with the end of study report sent to the PI. Permission to archive received from sponsor and earliest date for destruction are all date fields. Site file prepped for archive is a date field with comments in there. So we put comments in there if it's including the pharmacy files or the R&D files, or if they're done separately. And then the rest is just kind of checklists as we're prepping the site file. Have you done the patient packs? Have you marked the hospital notes with end dates? Have you filed the chemo notes? Have you collated records from other support departments and the R&D office? If they're not quite ready for collection, where are they stored on site? So quite a lot of our archive boxes, they're ready to go, but we store them up and send them all off in one go because it's cheaper to do one collection. So the location of them on site, just in case we need access to them. Then we've got archive boxes ready for collection, yes or no. Whether it contains any other storage media, because we keep an eye on what's in the boxes, and our IT team tell us if there's anything we need to do with those other media, if anything changes technologically wise, if we need to store it in a different format. And then we list the barcodes on each box before they go off to their off-site storage. And then the last bit's obviously date collected from the site, and then the rest is about when you review them for destruction, when we've had the sponsor permission to destroy them, date of destruction, and any other comments. So when we destroy the study records, this form stays on Edge as our record of the process and the dates. So what we also do with Edge is we use the organisation calendar, what was formerly the global calendar, to track these review for destruction dates. So if I show you one of those, how it looks on our calendar. So you can see one's in there for Wednesday, the 30th of August. So we just record it as an other type, so it shows up as purple in our calendars. We put a note in there for a month before the destruction date, so we've got time to request authorization to destroy or time to update it if the date's not right, because sometimes we put in there what we think the destruction date's going to be, and then the results take another year to come out, so it pushes the destruction date further on. So we've got the option there to just change the date, and then before we recall any records, which we have to pay for a recall of a box, we know exactly if we need to recall it or it's staying there for another month or two, or even a year or two. That makes sense? That's kind of a whistle-stop tour of our process. Does anyone else use something similar that they'd like to share, or not use Edge at all for it? Everyone's very quiet. Are we the only ones doing this?
I haven't got anything to share.
Mark.
That's really good. And linking into the question there from Chantal, is that available to call now as a catalogue? I'm just thinking that's the kind of thing I aspire to save us a load of effort. Is that available to?
It's not at the moment, but I can make it available to you.
That'd be really helpful.
Yeah, there's someone else. Surrey and Sussex use a similar process. That's good to know. The one downside of using the calendar, which I've discovered in Edge 3, is in Edge 2, you used to be able to skip straight to a date 30 years in the future. You can't do that now in Edge 3, so you have to scroll through the dates, which is a bit of a pain. But I have to trust that once it's in there, and it will come up when it's needed. So you can do a download from the calendar and just use Excel to filter out your archiving dates. We also use the organisation calendar for recording internal audits so that everyone's aware of when they're coming up and what site they're going to be on and what they involve. So we use that calendar quite a lot, the organisational one, from an R&D office perspective. So there's a couple of people, yeah, there's quite a few people using similar process forms, but mainly use spreadsheets. Is that Rebecca? Have you got any plans to make it more based on Edge, or why would you use a spreadsheet? Any particular reasons? Sorry, putting you on the spot, Rebecca. Donna, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, does anybody else do electronic data storage of archive records? Because our trust is trying to do electronic archive, and when we've asked about going to outside storage because we've got such a small room to keep all the boxes in, they're like, well, we're actually trying to go away from that now. Does anybody know anything, if that's acceptable, to have it done like that?
We've had a few studies that have asked for us to archive electronically when there's been no hard copy site file and things like that. So we have arrangements with IT where we store, we could store archive files on our shared drives. The only proviso we have to give to sponsors is when it comes to destruction, we have a 30-day period before things permanently disappear off our servers. So if you get permission to destroy a record, it won't actually disappear from our records for another 30 days. I don't know whether anyone else uses anything more complicated, but it's basically we just store them in a particular folder on a shared drive, and IT have responsibility for data security.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, Mark.
I was say, can I follow on from that? Because we've been thinking, because we've had a study recently finished and it was all electronic data, and we're wondering, and I think it's our ambition now, is why aren't we? Could we not store this electronic archive on Edge? So is anybody doing that?
We do leave our documents that are already stored on Edge. We leave them on Edge if we're when we're archiving, but there's quite a lot of documents that we have on a shared drive that is not on Edge. But yeah, it would be easier to store on Edge, and there's no reason we couldn't. I don't know, Roberto, there's no limit on storage space, is there?
Not at the moment. The only limitation we have in terms of storage is the file has to be 30 megabytes, I think, if not mistaken, but no other limits at the moment.
Thank you.
Nick?
Thanks. So yeah, we at the moment we for our site file we send everything off-site physically to IU. I don't think there's any commercially sensitive information that we use Iron Mountain as to use our site files, but we are just about to start using electronic archiving for electronic media. So we're not going to digitize stuff that's paper and send that off, but we've got the thing about archiving things like USB drives and CDs and horrible things like that, where people are getting things from the sponsor electronically, and then where do they store them? So obviously you're storing them on your trust IT servers, which is fine and easy to do. We're just about to do an amalgamation of, so all the paper stuff will remain paper, but all our electronic stuff will go to Iron Mountain as well digitally. And we can link the study, so we can link the boxes to the electronic files as well. And in terms of Edge stuff for R&D files, again, because we don't allow any patient identifiable stuff or patient documents on Edge, we just keep everything on and when we archive.
Matthew.
So this is a question that came up a long time ago, but it felt like a bit of a can of worms, so we kind of just dropped it as soon as it was asked. But I'm just wondering what other people's opinions are. So when a study's been archived and then it's been archived for the maximum amount of time and then it's due to be destroyed, what do you do with your Edge files then?
We take everything off except the records retention and archiving details. The timeline stays there. The record stays there as a record that we ran the study, and the records retention and archiving form, but we take off all of the staff, we take off any other details and all of our documents and any other workflows, everything we can, and we just leave the very basic bones. So there's a record that we did run it and it was archived and then we destroyed it, and why.
What about the recruitment? What do you do with the recruitment?
We take all that off as well.
Right. Okay. Because we were thinking that, but then if you take all of the recruitment off, then it's like the study never recruited. Do you know what I mean? Or do you just anonymize everything that's there?
If you didn't have Edge, if you were just working off paper and it came to file destruction, would you retain recruitment details?
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
So just
great,
being devil's
thanks.
advocate, just thinking,
Yeah,
just because it's there, should you retain it if it's actually come to the end of its period and therefore you should destroy those records?
right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great, thanks.
I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but that's my feeling.
So I think there's some new. My only question with the removing all your recruits from Edge, does that not have an effect on your CPMS ODP number data for previous years and stuff like that?
I don't know the answer to that question. We're usually destroying stuff that's really old, but Roberto?
Told you it was a can of worms.
On that one, I will say at the moment it won't have any effect because CPMS API went live on 2019, so we have another at least 15 years probably until you have to worry with that, and by then they may have a completely different system to track recruitment. But in a hypothetical scenario, what would have happened is if you take that off, because the data has already been transferred from Edge to CPMS, that data is on CPMS. Unless they remove that from CPMS, it will stay there. It's just not going to link up.
Yeah, it's been accepted by the sponsor on CPMS,
Yeah.
hasn't it? The recruitment has been accepted. So unless they mark it as not accurate.
But then I imagine that
and accept the change,
on CPMS, they will also have some kind of process to remove recruitment after certain period because it's the destruction period. I don't know how they do that, to be honest, but I imagine there will be some kind of process on their end as well.
Christopher?
Yeah, destruction of personal information is subject to data protection rules, so they first and foremost should be the ones that we observe. There may well be additional rules at your trust that determines how long any record of any sort may be retained before it's destroyed. those are the ones primarily that you should be considering. We shouldn't be creating anything specifically different from whatever else is put up to us as the rules that we should follow.
Yeah, we follow our trust archiving policy, and there is, when you're talking about e-archiving, there is a program going on here at East Kent at the moment with digitising patient records. So I'm guessing that will meet us at some point. We've had discussions about how that affects research records, because sometimes the record of research on a patient's hospital notes outlasts the retention date for the hospital notes. So we've had discussions internally about how we make sure that that doesn't get overridden by patient destruction of notes, and yeah, go against what we've agreed to on the research side. Has anyone else got any comments or questions or feedback? Okay, so I'm happy to share our records retention and archiving attribute. Does anyone want to have a look at what our end of study report looks like, in case you want to recreate it or anything? Or on a separate note, I know this is an EDGE meeting, but we use a REDCap survey to actually send that out and collate the information. If anyone else is using REDCap Academic and wants to do something like that, I'm happy to share. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We'll draw that to a close then, and we'll see you next time.
There's a lot of messages saying people would like you to share it.
Yep, I'll
Oh,
send
sorry,
stuff
I thought you were
through.
going to share on screen. Sorry.
Oh no, do you want me to share on screen?
Sorry.
I can do. We've got some time.
I
Let me
don't know what
just bring
people are
something up.
Wondering.
Let's find one. Just give me a sec. I'm muted. I was talking away. So I'll just share my screen and show you this. So this is a example of a completed one. So what I do is I merge the report from EDGE, which is this middle page here. So these are the basic details we pull off EDGE and we send to the PI for confirmation. So the local references, the data open to recruitment, actual recruitment end date, site close date, target participants, and actual recruited. And then on REDCap, we use a basic form with the details, detailing which delivery team used it, and we upload that end of study data from EDGE, and that pings off automatically to the PI, and they fill it in using, it gives them a link. They just click on the link and they answer the questions. Please confirm the attached document is an accurate report of the research activity for the study, and it is now closed. They reply, please confirm that appropriate archiving arrangements are in place. Any other comments? And then they have to do a dodgy signature with their mouse. And that pings up back with me and says that it's been completed. I merge it as a PDF and that gets saved with the records. So that's our local arrangements. So it doesn't replace any sponsor arrangements for study closure forms or checklists. It's just our local one, and it makes sure that we're aware and that the PI is aware that they have a responsibility for arranging archiving and a responsibility for those records the whole time it's been archived. Anyone got any questions about that? That makes sense.
Thank you.
So what about the end of study declaration? Where do you save that and how do you do it?
What, in addition to this form, or?
Yes, so the end of study declaration is what you take, you submit to the REC, and it's a form that you fill out. So I'm assuming it's all part of the process of archiving.
Yeah, that's a separate thing. This is just a local thing for studies where we're not the sponsor.
Okay.
So we're just closing as a site.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if it's a worthy topic, but yeah, sponsors are supposed to manage their destruction of their studies that they're sponsoring, but we see very little traffic from sponsors informing us that they need to that sites need to destroy their documents. And I just wondered what people thought about this, because it's the sponsor's responsibility, really. It's it's their stuff, but we just seem to be chasing them all the time to be able to just say, and no one ever says yes. It's just prolonged torture of just got to do a bit more analysis. We have to no, CI is not happy, and I just think that the governance, the sponsors just need to be a bit firmer and be a bit more proactive, I guess. Yeah, that's my thought.
I think we'd all agree with that. I've never seen anything come without being prompted by us, and a lot of the time you get a response that's like it's the first time they've ever been asked if we can destroy some papers. Yeah, I agree. It's like pulling teeth sometimes. But yeah, the problem we have is that we're a completely new team here in the last couple of years. So everything that happened before is kind of out of our control. So we're still doing a lot of cleanup and organisation of what's already in archive, and things don't get pulled back very often for review. And the ones I have pulled back, usually in a box of 10 different study documents, most of them should have been destroyed years ago. So there's a lot of stuff in storage that doesn't need to be in storage, and it's a whole big process of actually reviewing all of those boxes. And it would be nice to have someone full-time doing it. It would get done, but as it is, I'm sure you're all in the same boat. It gets fitted in around other jobs as and when we can get round to it.
Can I give a comment on? Yes.
Sorry, Mark.
I know I completely agree with you, and I spent 10 years running Medicines for Children Network, which was mostly commercial. And I always think academia needs to start learning how commercial run research, because it's well done. So I take a very hard view, and I'll email them and say, our records suggest that we've come to the end of our retention period. Unless we hear from you by a certain date, we will be destroying them, because reality is, assuming the academic's even still there, the university's probably got no record, the R&D team centrally, or they're not connected. And I think it's something that I certainly would love to promote through the NIHR, is sponsors need to be a bit more of a sponsor. But yeah, I'd take the view, I'm letting you know what I'm doing. Here's my date. If I don't hear from you, it's going to happen, because you can't keep stuff forever. I've had the flip side there, where they come back and go, oh no, hang on, we might destroy the data. But I'd still take the view that no, the retention period, if they want it, it goes back to them. It's not my problem. But I think that's our only way out. Otherwise, keep it forever.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of papers in storage that don't need to be there anymore. Anyone got anything else they'd like to raise or comment on? Jason.
Yeah, just this comment that's come through about trying to trace sponsors, and obviously commercial companies get swallowed up or merge or whatever. We do check in through company houses and find out, the thread back to the current kind of owner. who's responsible, email them, just say you got 30 days to respond to this. If we don't hear from you, it's just doing our diligence, just proving the fact that we have made those steps. It's for them to then react with the information we've given them. That's the way we do it.
Yeah, that's useful. I think we're going to have to take that same kind of approach from now on. Okay, I think we're heading to our hour point. Shall we draw this to a close, or has anyone got any other comments? Okay, thank you everyone, and we'll speak to you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.